Max from Double Down Ventures. And we have Casey from Dragonfly. And then we have Jenny from Web3 Funds. So take it away, Anna. Thank you so much.
Okay, hi everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Elana. I'm a partner at Redbeard Ventures. We're a Web3 crypto focused VC. But I just want to pass it over to these lovely ladies, if they could please give an introduction about which sector you're really focused on and your background and how you got started in Web3 VC.
Sure. I'm Max, and I've been a consumer investor my whole career. I invested in brands, in gaming, in sports, everything that touches consumer. And I felt like with Web3, there was lack of expertise around what it takes to build a consumer brand and a consumer-facing company. And at the same time, I also felt like there was so much potential in building Web3 in consumer because of how much it opens in terms of engagement and shared ownership, kind of all the things that are very powerful consumer and human forces. So I ended up launching the Double Down fund last year, $30 million vehicle, investing all in mainstream adoption of Web3 through consumer culture.
Yeah. Hell yes. It's great. I'm Casey. I'm with Dragonfly Capital. Just joined about 2 months ago, but had spent the past 5 years working at Digital Currency Group. Dragonfly is a global VC. We have equal footing in North America and in Asia, over 250 portfolio companies. We do everything from early stage through to doing $6 to $40 million checks, so really spanning the gamut. But I found my way into crypto, I think, through my core vocation as a person who triages emergencies. So I had started my work in tech advocacy, trying to connect people who were struggling to gain access to resources. And when I got into venture and then learned about the troubles that crypto and Web3 founders were facing in starting their businesses, I decided to dedicate my past, 6 years to working with founders and helping them to overcome the hurdles that they have in launching their businesses. Bank accounts, regulatory lack of clarity, the day-to-day struggles of being able to launch something global from day one.
Well, hey everyone, my name is Jenny Ta. I'm the extra one added at the last minute to this panel. I am from LA, 3X founder, last exit 200 million in 15 months. Currently a VC, solo VC, general partner of Web3 VCfunds.com, where I lead a pool, P-O-O-L, of funds that is currently around $25 million strictly investing in the Web3 space. So I'm particularly leaning towards female founders.
So, guys, thank you so much. You guys are all really impressive for making the time here today. I think right now it's a really hard market, and a lot of people are struggling to raise capital, specifically in Web3. So for the founders out there listening, I was wondering if you guys could give some key components that you look for when deciding to make an investment.
I'm happy to go. It will be obvious, but is just because you're building in Web3 does not absolve you from a responsibility of actually building a business. And I think a lot of times people are like, I'm building in Web3 and I'll figure out what it is and I'm gonna raise money and figure it out. And there's too much like raise money first, figure out what it is later. Like if you are not having a starting hypothesis, you're just fucking around. And I, as an investor, I don't like you to fuck around with my money. So the first step is just why are you building what you're building? Like what is the actual need, right? Again, Web3 or not Web3, like why does this need to exist in the world? And then show me why Web3 makes it better, why Web3 makes it possible. Because in the current environment where we are today, building a Web3 is actually a friction point. So you have to be that much better to make sure that people actually onboard, that you actually get customers, that you actually can get traction. Because if it's just as good as a Web2 solution, it's not going to cut it.
We're not going to get stuck in that going down the line thing, so I'm going to pass this one to you guys.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna save the ladies. Hey, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen back there, could you guys calm it down, please? Please, could you guys calm it down, all right? So, thank you so much. So, how I look at investing this way, again, founded 2 investment banking firms. Did I say that?
No, you didn't.
I didn't say that. I am probably the only Asian American female that founded 2 investment banking firms. Google me, okay? An investment banking firm is like a small Goldman Sachs. So assets under management when I was in my 20s, it was near $500 million, which in today's money is around $10 billion, okay? So to answer the question, I looked at 3 things, and if you guys wanted to hear more, listen to the podcast I just did with Cams from COINDESK, okay? COINDESK, okay? That kind of went viral on Twitter, okay? So 3 things. Number 1, I know we all talk about Web3 here, shh, back there, but if you talk to traditional VCs, which is kind of my world, if you pitch Web3 alone, that might not fly anymore. Guess what you gotta add? Take a wild guess.
AI.
Yes! You got to add AI. So that's number 1, is the sector. Is your sector correct? Number 2, the podcast I did with Cams, the title said, bet on the jockey. So I'm betting it on all of you guys first. Bet on the jockey. And then number 3 that I look for is the sector, okay? Like one of the sectors that I'm very much interested in besides AI, okay? Can anybody guess? Now, here's a clue. If Elon Musk's Tesla stock continues to drop, this man in this sector is the richest man in the world. What is it? No. I can't believe you guys don't know. Who? No, his name is Bernard Arnault of LVMH, which is a $3 trillion fashion industry. So is digital fashion. Check into that.
Anything to add?
That's great. You got the whole thesis. I'm gonna double click on the second bullet that you listed, which is betting on the jockey. In early stage investing, like you're saying, there's been a lot of skating by on just, I'm building something Web3, crazy idea. At Dragonfly, we're very clear that we're never going to laugh an idea out of the room. But I think especially over the past year, we have seen that there are core founder traits that are necessary to be there. Travis Scher from North Island Ventures always talks about the importance of integrity. I think we all saw how that has panned out. The true drive inside of a founder, that when they're selling a vision that is not yet real, that they are going to be kept awake every night trying to figure out how to make themselves be in integrity with what they have sold to all of these investors and to their customers. And then there's another angle that I think it's Casey from 1KX. He talks about self-awareness. There's a lot of founders that in getting really hyped up in these cycles, getting a bunch of capital, you lose that awareness of not only yourself, your own flaws, but also where you are in the market. And so those are 2 traits that I would say I'd love to see come to the forefront as we're investing. And if you are a founder or someone looking to raise capital, those are good things for you to check in with yourself on, because this is the new standard, I think, of what VCs are looking for.
And I know a few of us are actually consumer investors, but a lot. So they have no recurring revenue, their business models aren't sustainable, and people really struggle. So I want to pass it on, and Jenny, I could start with you, is what is a sustainable business model you've seen in Web3?
All right, this is an easy one because this was my topic to speak on a solo stage at NFT NYC. So if you all were there, then I had 10 minutes by myself. So in terms of NFTs, okay, on the podcast with Cams, I did say that the era, ERA, of JPEG NFTs are over. I'm sorry. Okay, they're over. Okay. NFTs, however, has a huge future ahead because why? Disney CEO, okay, he said a quote that NFTs are just getting started. Now, what that means is that NFTs must have some kind of real world utilities, okay? Like NFTs real estate, NFTs ticketing, okay? NFTs, anything that is connected with real world will be connected to an NFT. And those projects are going to scale. They're gonna get funding from VCs, and we're going to see this NFT space like the dot-com era of 2000. So right now NFTs blew up, just like dot-coms blew up in 2000. But the ones who stay from the dot-com, such as eBay, Amazon, etc., we will see those projects 5 or 10 years from now, and that's when we truly learn what NFTs truly are, not the JPEGs. That's my answer.
Way to go. I mean, the problem is we look at NFTs as a product, and NFTs are not the product. They're a technology enabling a product. And so fundamentally, like, you don't have a business model for NFTs, you have a business model for the product you're trying to build with NFTs. So whether it's a community or a membership program or a media platform or whatever it is, there's a number of business models associated with those types of products. There are some more Web3 native than others, but I fundamentally just like struggle with the idea of an NFT business model because, as Jenny mentioned, there are as many utilities as there are NFTs right now.
Yeah, the concept of a sustainable business model is, I think, a tough question to answer. But I think what we're looking for are effective business models. And we've seen some that are really difficult. Right now we have both Blur and OpenSea competing on fees. I see that playing out kind of similar to the Web2 equivalent of Uber and Lyft. Like, is this just what we're going to fund as VCs? Them competing over price, trying to get as many users as possible, and then, once they have market share, that going back up. So, fees, rehypothecation of AUM. We've seen some things that are not working long term. Where we go from there, I don't have the answer yet.
Yeah, and a lot of you guys mentioned a couple of actual models that Web3 helps. So like ticketing, for example. And I was wondering if you guys could give a few examples, because I think a lot of times we find helps enables.
Look, I'm gonna out myself. I'm also not a full-time investor. I do portfolio support on the back end of this. So I don't have a great answer for which of those sectors we're focused on, but yeah, I'll pass it to the two girls who know exactly what they're doing.
I'm happy to go. I think the challenge right now is that all the most interesting things that Web3 can actually build are also the things that are making SEC most upset. And that is actually a struggle of being an investor, where on one end of a spectrum, you can build something very exciting that is almost certain to have legal liability associated with it, or you can build something very boring but not very exciting, but at least safe legally. And I don't like either end of those two of that spectrum. But the fundamentals of Web3 are about shared ownership, about shared upside, about shared governance. And what does SEC hear when they hear that? Securities. And so unfortunately, I think like where we are right now is a little bit of build and take the legal risk, or wait for the regulatory to settle. But I actually think like the most exciting thing in Web3 is actually being able to leverage that shared ownership and shared upside in just standing up any type of a consumer company.
And And I'm gonna add to it is that because I am building, I'm a 3X founder, right? So my fourth company is Web3 VC funds, right? And I'm actually building my fifth company, which is in Web3 and AI. And that fifth company, I haven't disclosed it yet, but I kind of gave a clue already.
Is it LMHV? Is that the clue? LMHV?
Yes. So the fifth company actually that I'm building has to do in that $3 trillion industry that I've shared. Bernard Arnault, okay? And in the Web3 space, all of you guys here, all of us here must have heard of the biggest case surrounding IPs, intellectual property. And did you guys hear about that? Against the Birkins bag? Okay, right? That was the first case that an NFT took the name Birkins, which the IP belonged to a traditional company, which is Hermes Birkins. They sued and they won, okay? So my only advice for all of the creators here in the Web3 space, as you continue to pursue this space, look into intellectual properties, patents, and trademarks. If you have patents and trademarks in this space, you will be a winner. And by the way, the fifth company that I'm building, my goal for myself is a 12 months unicorn status. Come check with me.
So I know we only have a couple more minutes, so I want to ask, is there a specific company, either one of your portfolio companies or one that you've been following that really excites you in the space?
Look, I kind of come back to fundamentals. I think about the whole of the industry and what we went through since consensus last year and what we need to bring to be able to take ourselves to the next level. And candidly, I think that there was a ton of reputational damage, and we're continuing to see issues with the hacks that are happening, with technology that is still not connected to the real world, use cases that your mom and your Uber driver and everyone in your life understands and that gets them excited in using it. The thing that really kind of personally connected for me to crypto when I first got involved was personal sovereignty and privacy. And so everything security related has been really interesting. Right now, there's a ton of security protocols and new projects, alert systems that are being set up to try and make projects more successful at launching without having these oversights and getting hacked, and who are also trying to make it safer for consumers, because I think a lot of retail users and everyday people, all they hear is risk, volatility, getting hacked. And if you don't feel responsible and prepared to be able to take on the responsibility of like managing your own keys and your wallet, then you really need to have come in and give you that confidence, or else the hurdle is simply too high. So Harpy, Blowfish, lots of new innovation that's happening right now. And I think the key thing is that we need to see stuff that has great UI and that doesn't feel clunky and augments our wallets and everything else that we're using day to day.
I think the two categories in general that I'm very excited about and kind of top of the priority list. One is just general use of crypto to solve the cold start problem of a marketplace or of network effects, right? Like that is actually a very interesting use of tokens for a business model that in steady state does not necessarily require tokenization, but is using the tokens to deal with the cold start problem that many people have at the beginning to kind of get the whole flywheel going. And then the second one is Web3 native consumer brands. I'm a big believer that it makes more sense to stand up new consumer product brands from zero than to try to retrofit kind of the Web3 technology into existing consumer brands. And I'm very excited for, again, once we have some more regulatory clarity, for builders to kind of combine the consumer expertise and community building, community co-creation expertise and Web3 expertise to show a new way of launching and building consumer brands.
So I guess I'll wrap up the question this way. I do get pitched a lot, like probably at least 2 to 3 decks that I receive on a daily basis, even when I'm traveling. At the moment, I can say that our fund, we write more checks to companies that is more Web 2.5, not Web 3.0. Because the decks that I've seen with Web 3.0 is just like, I'll use an analogy, it's just like kids who are in kindergarten, right? Seriously, I'm being honest here, right? They don't even know what an EBITDA is. They don't even, it's like they domicile in the wrong state, and it's like they say, there was one slide, almost all of the Web3 decks, there's a slide that, we want to raise a seed fund of 2 million. And then my question would be, well, based upon what valuation? We don't know. I say, what the fuck, right? What do you mean you don't know, okay? How am I gonna be a shareholder of your company when I ask you that and you don't know? So what's the difference between a Web 2.5 versus a Web 3.0? A Web 2.5 has the aspect of the traditional companies, building things with substance, with scaling. But a Web 3.0, most of the decks that I've seen so far, it's like imagination. I have an idea. Can you give me $1 million? I'll build it. Yeah, right. Okay. We're not going there. So there you go.
It's a really good point. I think that, again, just tying back to where we are in the market, where we are in the life cycle of this industry, there was a major reset. We are seeing founders who still have 2 years of runway. They thought they had product market fit, and now they're looking at the years ahead and saying, okay, we need to actually question all of those assumptions. We need to start from scratch. Do we want to build something totally different? Because what they're seeing is that the amount of time it will take for the market to catch up to where they thought it was a year ago, it may make sense to build something totally different because they're not sure if it's going to get back to that place or if it's going to go in a new direction. And so committing to staying on the same path that you were on a year ago, assuming that the market is in the same place, and being able to do operations in this kind of cowboy fashion, we have really reset the clock a bit. There's professionalism that needs to happen, but this is the journey to being able to realize the Web3 future that we're all so excited about, of distributed ownership, of global, borderless worlds. And so I think we can get there, but it's a great point. We need to dial it back, professionalize, and then be the shepherds through to Web3 versus jumping ahead to it.
I love that point too, because I think, don't be scared to pivot. It's never bad to pivot. Where we were a year ago versus where we are now is very different. And so if you're not making money, if things are different, if you're not selling, then look at other options. I just think that's so true. So I want to end it because I know we're coming up on time. What is some final piece of advice you have for founders that are looking at raising a round of funding? And then where can people find you and get in touch with you?
The best advice I ever got in my career is if you're going to make people money, you can do whatever you want. If you figure out how to make money, you can do whatever you want. And you can find me on Twitter at Magdalena Kala, forecaster at Max.
I love it. So I'm actually going to slightly change your question. I think that there's a number of women in this room that are hoping to get into VC. And so I want to give just 2 quick pointers because it was really helpful to me on my path. One is if you have a traditional finance background, if you've already been thinking about the world of venture, right now there are so many analysts looking to get into this space. You need to differentiate yourself by writing, having a personal brand, having a thesis of where you're going to build a really deep network and you're going to be able to get deals that no one else can. And if you're someone who does not have that traditional finance background but has worked in startups, loves building startups, is really good at finding talent and people to believe in, and you feel like you have that ability to be a great picker, I would say consider doing the post-investment route. The work that I've been doing of getting to sit across hundreds of companies, see the patterns of what works, what doesn't work, businesses with similar models, making different decisions at critical junctures. It's a really great way to get the lay of the land, to think about if you wanted to build something yourself, or to be able to use that knowledge, use that network and the exposure to the deal process to then make the transition over to the deal team. So just a couple of tips if anyone's looking to get into this space.
Can I just add to that really quick? I came from a consulting route, then got into sales, to then get into venture. And the way that I did it was I really just sourced some of the best deals for a venture capital firm, which I'm at now, Redbeard. But I was able to show like, okay, I could get allocation in these huge deals. I'm able to reach out, they're saying yes. So I was able to source some of those, and I just started writing about my thesis. And as you mentioned, Casey, it's like writing it out, putting it out in the world, and showing that I could make those investments, and then building my startup portfolio. You can invest in syndicates with like a $1,000 minimum, and just being able to show like, hey, I invested in this company early on, and now it's raising 2 rounds later at such a high markup was really helpful for me. So
I'm really glad that we got a chance to hear a little bit about your journey, because that's great advice and a great path. And then just in terms of where to find us, so I mean, Dragonfly is a best-in-class global VC, investing across all stages. We have an incredible group of GPs with really diverse backgrounds. They're all product people, they're all operators. They've worked in the crypto space, so they have really great advice, and they are technical as fuck. And so I would say, sorry, getting a little loose. And if you guys want to find us, they're deeply online. Tweet, DM, hit up the partners, find whoever seems like they're interested in what you're building thematically, and they will absolutely take the call and check out what you're doing. And if you are interested in getting into venture, if you are a founder that's needing additional support, I am a helper by nature, so I'm always saying yes to things. So you can hit me up on Twitter at Casate, and find me on the Dragonfly website.
All right. So I have 2 points. One is to back her about, the analysts, the traditional. When you guys go on web3vcfunds.com, which is myself, you will learn about RegCF. Not sure if you heard about RegCF. Founders and creators out there, listen up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something you might need to take home, okay? If you find raising capital from venture capitalists like us up here difficult, look into regulation crowdfunding, which is RegCF. Each year, you can raise up to $5 million from non-accredited investors. Let me repeat, non-accredited investors. So any of us here, if you're a not accredited investor, you can write a check to a project through RegCF. 10,000 folks, $500 each, or 5,000 folks, $1,000 each. You own equity of that company, and that project has $5 million to build, okay? That came from traditional finance, which is Wall Street. It was 1.07 million for a very long time. President Obama brought 1.07 million up to $5 million just 2 years ago. And I will end with this, okay? Those of us here who knows Brian Armstrong of Coinbase, send him a message for me. The lawsuit that he just sued the SEC, he's not gonna win. He's not gonna win, mark my word. He's not gonna win. He's wasting legal money of the shareholders of Coinbase. How do I know? If Brian were to say, who is this girl? Just say it's Jenny Taw, and she founded 2 investment banking firms. So you can find me on Twitter, search Jenny Q Taw, it'll come up. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you everybody. I appreciate you guys coming on, and thank you guys for joining.
And go Brian and Coinbase.